Welcome to the HR on the Offensive podcast, a weekly podcast by Lace Partners, a fundamentally different HR and payroll consultancy. Each week, we tackle some of the most interesting topics facing senior HR professionals. So whether that's from employee value proposition, performance management, people strategy, or even payroll, we cover it all. So join us for the next 30 minutes. And if you like what you hear, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Now, on with the show.
Hello, Chris Howard from Lace Partners, and I am doing a very short video to talk about our white paper, which was released earlier in 2025. It was released by our payroll team. I've got Simon Bunday and Simon Puryer here to talk a little bit about it. But I just wanted to just have a chat with you guys about where perhaps there are gaps or what you think are some of the most important elements of the actual paper. So if you'd like to find out about the paper, you can download it on the Lace Partners website, either on the services page, the payroll services page, or if you go to Insights as well, you can also access it. It's called Optimal Payroll Starts with the Foundations. I'm going to kick off with you, Simon. So we've got 7 sections that we break it down into: operating model, technology, skills, data, reporting, process, adaptability and scalability, and training and mindset. Now, I won't go through all of those because we've obviously done the podcast and we've done a webinar with CIPP on it as well. We've got a whole variety of different blogs that we've produced, but I just want to zone in and get just both of you's perspective on, is there a particular element of this white paper or any of these foundations that you think sticks out more? We'll start, I guess I've got 3 questions, which is there one that you think is more important than others? Maybe they're all treated equally. The organizations that we speak to as well, is there something that they tend to focus on if they're thinking about foundations more? And is there something that organizations tend to overlook a little bit more? So let's start with that first question, Simon, which is there one particular foundation that you think is particularly critical?
I mean, I think the first thing to say, I think part of the reason we kind of pulled this paper together is people tend to overlook the foundations full stop, because they tend to sort of just want to run into all the exciting kind of future stuff and maybe forget about some of that foundational activity that needs to be in place, because actually it doesn't matter whether you get a new piece of fancy technology in or whatever. If you haven't got the foundations in place and right, then it's never gonna work. So I think the one for me that I would probably call out would be operating model. And I think I'd probably call it out because people maybe think of it, when they talk about operating model, people will often think of it in the context of just the sort of organizational design element. So how's the team sort of structured? Where actually it's so much broader than that, because actually operating models considers the sort of the technology, the processes, the people, where they're located, the kind of data, all of that kind of encapsulates that operating model piece. And therefore I think it's so fundamental, and we find clients will often talk to us about, we've got to think about our operating model, but it's almost like because it's a tick box, so they need to think about their operating model. I don't think people fully appreciate its importance and the significance of it. So that would be the one I would call out.
Yeah, Simon?
I think that they're all equal in their own right, and you need to focus on all of them at the same time. Rather than call out one that I think I would call out specifically, I'd rather talk about one that the client would normally tend to, which is technology. Everyone says the payroll system isn't working properly, or our provider isn't providing this, etc. Whereas that's one of the 7 sort of pillars that we've talked about, but it's actually a combination of everything together. It's because if you put rubbish data in, you get rubbish data out. And regardless of changing the technology over and over again, if you haven't got your operating model right, if you haven't got your processes right, if you haven't got your data and reporting right, then nothing's going to work. And you need all 7 of those coming together as well for it to be effective and work properly.
Okay, so let's flip that question into, so you both kind of touched on there what clients tend to focus on. I guess you sort of answered it a little bit, Simon, so maybe just expand on it, because what I wanted, my next question is what gets overlooked? Is it operating? Because you said actually clients tend to quite like focusing on that, and you've mentioned technology. Is there something that they tend to overlook? I'm almost leading the witness a little bit here, because I had a conversation with Chris Kirby about this. We talked about that training and mindset and the importance of how that underpins everything. I guess agree to disagree, or you can pick out one of the others of the 7. Is there one that tends to get overlooked?
Yeah, I mean, I think training and mindset, absolutely, because I think it's one of those things where when you're perhaps maybe recognizing some weaknesses in the team, or, a shift that needs to be made within the team, that's always quite hard for people to perhaps be prepared to accept, because, we all think we've got the greatest team, and actually the problem isn't the team, it's the technology, or it's the way we're configured, or anything else. So I think your mindset is so important, and often it's overlooked because it's actually that sort of shift in the way people need to think differently and operate differently. If you're bringing about change within payroll, these might be people that have worked within the same function for so long that they are used to operating that way for all the right reasons, because people in payroll are passionate about doing a good job and making sure people are paid. But actually, if you're trying to change your processes or change your systems, you're going to need to go through a sort of shift in mindset and a different way of working. And that's hard for people. I think people underestimate how significant that is, and therefore how much effort and work is often needed to shift people's mindset.
Yeah, Simon?
Probably just to expand on that, I suppose, is the skills that goes with it, because I think payroll doesn't stand still. It's always evolving. And with legislation and compliance that sits behind that, we always need to sort of evolve with those sort of regulations in terms of the team that we've got providing that, or the provider themselves sort of helping with supporting that. So I think the skills, along with the training, to make sure we've got the right people with the right skills, within the right operating model, with the right data, that then has the technology assigned to it as well, that gives you that sort of, say, optimal sort of payroll process.
Excellent. So if you want to download the white paper, just go onto Lace Partners' website, lacepartners.com. You can go to the Insights section, or, as I said right at the beginning, onto the Payroll Services section of our website. There's a form to fill in as well if you want to chat to the guys as well. So, gents, we're just going to talk for a couple of minutes about the Lace payroll community and executive payroll network. I think really what we probably want to do, just to kick it off, maybe I'll start with you, Simon, is let's talk a little bit about what it is and why we've decided to set it up.
So I think we set it up because a lot of clients were talking to us about the fact that they wanted a sort of safe space to get together, pure payroll people, not where they were going to have, suppliers or anything like that. And they could kind of talk openly about some of the challenges they're facing. You tend to think you're the only one kind of going through that. And then actually, when you start to talk to other people, you realize other people are experiencing just the same thing. And that's kind of quite reassuring. So we were keen to sort of set up this community as a sort of safe space, as somewhere where people could come together, tackle different ideas, talk about different challenges they're facing in a very sort of safe, non-threatening environment. So that was the kind of real context behind it.
We've had a payroll community network of sorts for a while, but I think we're just trying to formalize it.
We've kind of set up the WhatsApp group. We have regular get-togethers. Then we have more formal dinners. It's just a way of people knowing that, I suppose, we're always there, as opposed to perhaps being a little bit more sporadic.
Yeah, and I guess that was going to be, it's sort of stolen my question
sorry.
to you there. Simon, just talk a little bit about the types of things that we'll be doing, perhaps also talk about what we've already done so far this year in 2025 and what we're going to be looking to do to support people moving forward.
Yeah, so as Simon said, we have the WhatsApp group, which is continuous in terms of people sort of, it's not necessarily us putting content in there and promoting content. It's more a safe space for people to sort of collaborate and ask questions and amongst themselves to get those answers. What we try to do is bring those people together and create a forum for that. So outside of the WhatsApp group, we've done dinners where we've hosted a dinner and we would bring a number of subjects and topics to the table to discuss. And on the back of white papers that we've launched, we'll perhaps look and talk about that. Or maybe we would look at getting some insights from the group to put into our white papers. So it's a mixture of things. We've also done virtual events where we have touch points and allow people to come together with us. We do a number of events where we collaborate with our HRSS community as well, bringing together HR and payroll, all those people are the touch points of payroll, to talk about various things and have roundtable discussions and panel discussions to promote the things that are happening in the payroll world.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting, the shared services stuff, because there are quite a lot of similarities there. I'll stick with you, Simon, because I want to talk about the types of things that you have been talking about with clients, just to maybe whet the appetite. And then Simon, if you could build on just any other bits like topics or themes that we've already spoken about, or something we've got in the pipeline moving forward as well.
Yeah, well, AI is the big thing at the moment. Everyone's talking about AI and how AI can help with payroll. Now, I don't think AI will ever take over in terms of what the payroll function does. I think it will be a tool to assist payroll. So what we're finding is that there are things that accelerate the day-to-day jobs that AI is bringing to the table. So things like validate and check-in and those exception reporting analytics are getting much more fast-lined in terms of helping those people run the payroll. So AI is a big topic of conversation. We're also seeing a lot of integrations. So at the moment, people are still relying on sort of data data being transferred from their HCM system into payroll, very much manual. But we're seeing a lot of progress in terms of trying to integrate that and make that as seamless as possible, because a lot of the inefficiencies that we're seeing in the payroll community is around that sort of manual work of bringing data from one system to another.
Lovely. Simon, is there any other bits that you've kind of heard people talking about in previous communities, or bits that you want to see and you think clients are particularly interested with, or payroll teams are particularly interested in?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think the kind of common theme that always comes out is people sort of saying, I've got a problem, but I don't actually know what the problem is. So it's kind of getting to that, what's the root cause of driving this? Is it my system? Is it my processes? Is it my people? And actually, we find that the community is a great way of trying to kind of explore and perhaps expose almost what some of those challenges are. Systems is always something that comes out around, whether it be the provider or the solution they've chosen or the way they've set it up. Process is the other thing, because people think of payroll as almost just this one element, but it's so reliant on data coming in and data going out that thinking of that broader end-to-end process is so important. Process is always a challenge. And to Simon's point of thinking about as technology moves forward, it's about thinking about the manual element as well as the automated element. So I think those themes are what we're seeing very commonly. And I think they're really good examples of where people think they're the only people experiencing them. Yeah. But actually, when they start to kind of discuss it as a community, they realize that everyone's kind of experiencing the same sort of things.
Yeah, it becomes that sort of piece of catharsis so that we can all come together and see, you know what, I'm not alone. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit today around our LACE Executive Payroll Network, which is something that we've set up. Simon, just want to get your views, or tell the people watching this video a little bit about why we've set up the Executive Payroll Network and some of the bits that it includes as well.
Yeah, so what's different about the Executive Network that we're setting up here is that we recognise that there's kind of like a new sort of role that's existed within payroll sort of within the last sort of 5, maybe 10 years, where we used to sort of have payroll managers. We've now got a very much more strategic role that exists, which is like a director of, head of, global head of type role, which is much more, as I say, strategic, whereas our community network is got a mixture of people in. What we're looking for within the executive network is those sort of global heads of, those sort of director sort of level people, because we recognize it's a lonely place, right? There's no one else that knows what you do in the businesses, and you probably report to somebody within HR or finance who doesn't necessarily understand the day-to-day sort of challenges that you have within payroll. So this is a forum to bring peers together in a trusted and build a trusted relationship to sort of extend upon what we did with the community, but with that sort of more executive senior level role.
Okay, Simon, just to wrap that up, any kind of thoughts around what you want to see or the differences?
I mean, I think if you're operating at that kind of global head director of payroll, you're probably faced with managing potentially multiple countries, multiple people, a combination of maybe some in-house payrolls, outsourced payrolls. So your kind of day-to-day challenges will be quite varied, but also quite significant. By allowing us to set up this pure network of exec type payroll people, you're going to be all facing the same sort of challenges. And therefore it provides that opportunity for those people to talk about those very specific elements they're facing. Broader community can discuss a much broader range of challenges. This will be a bit more focused, but it will also be that very safe environment where you can peer-to-peer talk about those challenges you're facing. It's a really great opportunity to get that senior level of network together, and it's something that we're continually being asked for, which is what's led us to set up this specific network.
So if you want to find out more about the Executive Payroll Network, there's a form on this page. You can just fill that one in and then you'll get through to a member of the team, one of the Simons, no doubt, or another one of the member of the payroll team. But yeah, let us know and we'd love to hear from you.